Hello there, my friends. Chris Marcus here with you on behalf of Arcadia Economics again today on Tuesday, August 22nd. And I have a short video for you about some of the latest news about our foreign policy, as fascinating as it may be, and really just thinking about some of the things that are going on and what that can mean for the markets and how all of these things fit together. There were two stories. I still get these Wall Street Journal alerts, which are always fascinating in one sense or another. Excuse me. First was talking about Donald Trump, because on Monday he said the U.S. role in Afghanistan, he would expand the U.S. role in Afghanistan while taking a new approach that is tougher on neighboring Pakistan, etc., etc. Which again, it's interesting. They mention here his address represented a sharp reversal for Trump on Afghanistan, where he had long opposed U.S. military involvement. So, more troops in Afghanistan. And it's interesting to see them mention that it's something he had long opposed and then is changing his mind. Again, sometimes I wonder how much of these decisions are really made by the president. I do subscribe to the theory that there's, whether you call it the deep state or the shadow government or the Illuminati or whatever it may be, that there is a level on top of Congress and the president and all the stuff that we normally see. So what's really going on there? Who knows? We continue to see Trump's cabinet members moving in and out. And from everything I hear, it continues to be a modern-day Julius Caesar inside there. Although the end result, more military escalation, which, when you're already running massive deficits, is never really a fiscally logical plan. And of course, just to make things a little trickier economically, the other news story we had here was U.S. Treasury sanctions Chinese and Russian firms for aiding North Korea. U.S. seeking to clamp down on financing critical to, wow, in the last few years I've not become better at reading out loud apparently, so appreciate your patience, but they're seeking to clamp down on financing critical to North Korea's nuclear weapons program. And on Tuesday, the Treasury targeted a host of Chinese and Russian firms and related individuals and placed sanctions. Which, hey, it's far beyond me to know what North Korea is doing, whether that's really a threat. My personal belief is that I don't subscribe to this, that these foreign nations just spontaneously decided, well, we're going to go anti-U.S. If you look at what the CIA has done over the last 70 years, a lot of the foreign policy, I think it's understandable why there's some resentment about that. And I think that's unfortunate. I still sit there and imagine a world where we're all people rather than, we're on this, based on where we were born, makes us a fan of this side or that side. And I think often it's really more the political class that feels like it's playing a game of real life battleship with the people that really creates these divisive ideas. I don't have any problem with anyone from Russia or from China. I used to date a woman who was Persian from Iran. And, I find that when you strip away all this stuff that we're conditioned with and the doctrine, usually most people just want to live their life, have enough money to live, go on dates. The boys like girls, the girls like boys. And I find it often sad that basically we have these, I don't know if they're really elected leaders. Are they? I forget who I was listening to yesterday, but someone was presenting basically the argument that the president is picked long before the election and it's all just for show and to get people riled up and really divide them into sides. So you get a lot of negative energy festering together. One of one of the guys I used to listen to, a fellow named Stuart Spurdlow, had this great quote. He was wondering, maybe the voting machines, whether they're actually even turned on or not, or maybe they're just plugged into nothing and we're going in there pressing the buttons. In the end, has there been a big difference between Obama, Bush, Trump? They all spend a lot of money. They all send, which saddens me to see how people are sent to go harm other people. And as we've seen, whether it's the weapons of mass destruction, which never existed, or the Gulf of Tonkin, or actually recently I was listening to a good history video about how the U.S. was basically brought into World War I, also World War II. The story a lot different than what we were told of just this random attack on Pearl Harbor, or it's amazing how much political chicanery there is going on behind the scenes, and to think that people are sent to risk their lives to battle against other people who are sent to risk their lives. That probably, if they were all just at a party, would get along well. And again, I want to be careful about my phrasing of this because I have a couple uncles who lost their life in military service. And I do believe that the majority of the people in the military are going with an honest intention to protect their country and act patriotically. And for that, I have great respect. What concerns me more is the way the folks who decide where these troops are going often are not genuine, shall we say. And again, what's the end result? So we're sending more people to blow things up rather than create things. More sanctions, which, hey, if you are creating a product or a service that Chinese people or Russian people value, and now there's a sanction that says basically, no, you can no longer trade with this partner. Again, my own personal feelings aside, certainly not going to boost the economy the more restrictions you place. And perhaps even more so than that, it's incredible. Well, maybe it's less. It's incredible if you take on face value that the president or Congress or whoever calls the shots here, if we're under the mentality that they're doing what they think is best for the country, which sometimes I really question more and more. Certainly, it's not an ideal policy. Again, looking at the U.S. fiscal position, how much of it is financed by paper, how much of this paper is owned by China and Russia. So it's like you take your biggest creditors and you keep antagonizing them, which you pray that it doesn't escalate into military action. Although I keep wondering, if they poke China enough or poke Russia enough and try and really start trouble, what happens if China says we're selling all of our treasuries, which crashes the market, ends the U.S. ability to finance wars or troops with paper, and then all of a sudden, I don't know, do you still have the same military strength? Do you still have the same perceived financial strength? These are some of the biggest powers that, they've given you every indication that they're getting tired of this reign of the dollar as the reserve currency. Yet, anyway, that's the news, so they continue to push things, which is just one of many factors why I continue to feel we're headed towards some sort of break point in the market, some sort of revaluing of stocks, the bonds, the precious metals, and again, you pray these things don't escalate. But should they, certainly there's a lot of risk in these bond and stock markets. Of course, if you have some real tension, markets crash, what's the Fed going to do? Print more money. And in the end, just strengthens the case for the precious metals, natural resources, for those who believe in the idea of the cryptos. Again, we see these reasons to exit the dollar continue to build. In fact, the only reason that I can think of that people are still in the dollar is just they've been conditioned for so long to believe that's the way to go. We hear this flight to safety, flight to quality, when if you take the name off the label and just look at the underlying fundamentals, it's really hard to support that case that going to dollars or U.S. Treasuries is the safest thing you could possibly do. So that's why I like owning silver and other non-dollar denominated assets. Write in your comments below. Let me know what you think of all of this. Been having a lot of good discussions in the comments here, and again, who knows? Maybe that's just the natural way some of these things work, where they have to reach a break point and shock everybody before we can get back to a more natural, peaceful way of living. So hopefully you're all safe out there, and at least gives a little perspective on the things that are happening, where they just keep putting pressure on the markets. And at some point, I think we're going to see some serious corrections here. But leave your comments below. Let me know if you have any questions, and we'll see you again tomorrow.